Because these are what? These are ideals, values, guidelines for action. Very important. So we have structured the 100 topics program, all the 100 topics program, all the topics, all the sessions of 100 topics program, including the polity which I am going to take. The topics are all important. We are teaching you only those important topics from which most of the questions will come. But I want you to supplement this with one popular book which you have. I'll tell you what that book is. But as far as current affairs is concerned, we are conducting the editorial discussion program, right? And currently these are live in YouTube, right? So I request you to watch it. And we also have daily MCQs as far as Lukmaan IAS is concerned. Also use your class notes. So your preparation should be based upon the lecture we have, the class notes, and one important Bible of UPSC as far as polity, constitution is concerned. True, but I would say that there are some issues in that book. There are some shortcomings, some errors, some mistakes in that book. But in general, I am not supporting any book as such, but that book is something which is the most important as far as polity PT is concerned. I am stressing the word PT. UPSC directly pick questions from them. But again, it is not enough, right? But for the 10 classes, what you need to do is attend the class regularly. After that, I will tell you what you should do. I may not be giving you any additional notes, which is not required as far as I am concerned. If I feel that I should give you, then I will give you. But one of the important books you have, that is sufficient. But it requires a different kind of approach, that I will tell you. Right? Today we are going to see the first topic of polity and constitution, which is what? Which is the, what is the topic's name? Nobody? In order to clear something, in order to achieve something, in order to conquer something, you should know that thing particular. That thing should be known properly. Which means you need to clear the UPSC examination. You should know UPSC properly. You are attending this class. For what? Your own benefit. You should know this class properly. The beginning point is knowing the syllabus properly. Know the syllabus of this session and the coming session. The benefit is that you will know these are the areas which are important. So it will be stuck in your mind. Political theory and concepts. This is something which you will not find. Where? Where? In your favorite book. But UPSC, as I mentioned, 10 to 12 questions on an average for the last 10 years they are asking. Political theory, the word might sound that we are dealing with political science. No. Right? We'll be studying about concepts like state, nation state, socialism, democracy, republicanism, constitution, etc., etc. Right? The first thing which we are going to see is, anyway, I want to ask you one question before that. What is the subject that we are learning today? It is polity, isn't it? So we'll start from polity. What is the meaning of this word polity? Polity, to govern. No.
Polity is a system of government.
System of government. No. Partially right.
Polity is all about how government run, how the administration works. It's about the whole system of a country.
Polity means state. I am using this word, this letter, capital. Although the word state has two meanings. One is state in this country, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Kerala, etc., etc. Which meaning is provinces. Province, part of the country. When I am using this word in capital S, it has a different meaning. Are you able to understand? Whenever I am using this word state with capital S, it means that it does not mean states of India. It means nation state. Because the countries or territories in this world are organized on the basis of something called state. Our beginning point of polity or understanding polity is the understanding of state. We will understand first what exactly state is. Why this is important? Give me some time, I'll tell you. The term state is a political concept, which means it is associated with politics. As you rightly said, with government. I would say organizing the government. But government and state are not equal. A state has four components, important components. The idea of state, which is a political concept or part of political theory, has four important components. What are the four important components? What are they? Population, government, territory, then what else? Sovereignty. Are you able to understand this? Should I write in full or this is enough? Full? Full? Enough? Sure. Government, population, territory, sovereignty. The concept of state includes four important elements. The four important elements of state are government, population, territory, and sovereignty. Now, if state and government equal, I'm asking you, if state and government equal? No. Government is a part of state. Population, part of state. Territory, part of state. Sovereignty, part of state. Now, what is the meaning of this word sovereignty? India is a sovereign republic. What is the meaning of word sovereignty? You need to keep writing. Tell me.
Free from external.
External.
So India can take its decision by its own without any external.
Give me a short, proper answer. I would say the term sovereignty implies domestic and external independence. Domestically, any decision can be taken. Externally, any decision can be taken, which means external relation of a state, like India is a state, because India has all the four components, isn't it? Right? So when India is taking a decision of entering into an agreement with other country, for let's say USA, should India be worried about what Pakistan thinks or China says? If India's foreign policy, which means external relation, is guided, restricted, influenced or controlled by other countries, then we do not have external sovereignty. So external action independent, no country can influence us. pre-independence India was a colony of Britain. Although we had some kind of autonomy within the country, but external relations, everything was controlled by Britain. So India was not a sovereign. So it is only after independence that became a sovereign country. And not only that, because India was a colony, domestically also controlled by Britain. So India was neither domestically independent or externally independent. So sovereignty means independence of action or supreme authority. Supreme authority to take action, decisions without the influence of any group or any other country. Sovereignty, supreme authority, absolute power. Sovereignty is the fundamental basis of this state. Why am I using this word nation? What is the meaning of word nation? Nation is a group of people having a common identity. This common identity can be used to keep writing. I will not be giving any PDF, any this. Because these are very important things. Nobody will teach you these things. And if you see the questions after this, then you will see why am I teaching all these things. Although these videos will be available in the YouTube, you can watch it later also, but I recommend that you should keep on writing. Don't know what to write? It's fine. It's okay. Okay. I'm saying sovereignty.
Sir, what you tell about nation?
Nation. Oh, sorry. Yes, very good. Thank you so much. I was wondering what I was teaching about. Nation is a group of people having a common identity. Nation is a group of people having common identity. When this group of people having common identity come together and form a state, then it becomes nation state. Are you able to understand? Pakistan became a different country. Why? Pakistan, the people of Pakistan or Muslim League believed that the Muslims of this country are a different nation. They are a different group of people. Because religion is the common identity. So we require a different state. When you study contemporary world history, you will come across the issue of or the process of nation building. The idea of nation is commonality, common identity. This identity can be based upon language, culture, ethnicity, etc., etc. There are many countries or there are many regions in this world where there are groups which are struggling for or protesting for a different country. Tibet is an example. Tibet is a part of China. Balochistan in Pakistan. Basque separatist region in Spain. Chechnya in Russia. In India, some regions of the northeast. So they are saying that our identity is different. We are different from you. So we have different idea, we have different identity, so we need to have a different state. So when people belonging to a common identity come together and form a government with sovereignty within a territory, with a form of government, then the term is called nation state. The term state and nation state are used interchangeably. Although these things are not same as such. Because it is necessary that a nation is formed based upon identity, commonality. India is an example. What is the identity of an Indian? You tell me. Is India a nation?
Yes,
How?
so people come together and form.
What is the common identity of India? That cannot be an identity. That cannot be a commonality. That is something.
Sir, our culture.
Our culture is so diverse. Ethnicity, multiple religion, multiple languages. USA, what is it? Nation state. How?
So the states come together, people come together, form a nation.
I'm saying, if it a nation, first of all, in the traditional sense of the term, keep in mind, nation means commonality. One identity has to be there. One common identity.
The belief in a particular ideology is also a commonality. No? Like you believe in socialism or secularism.
True, fine. But
Then religions, sir. USA mostly belongs to
no.
So you talk about one thing commonality.
As of today, USA is a what is that? Melting pot. Melting pot, which means you will see a lot of nationalities, the Hispanics, right? The Asian, the Chinese, etc., etc. In general, state and nation state are used interchangeably. But there is a technical difference. It is not necessary that there should be a nation for a state. Are you able to understand what I am trying to say?
What's the commonality? So we called us as a nation state.
So China is not a nation state.
In 1949, China was a nation state because China was driven by the ideology of communism. But when after independence, China tried to capture other regions. It came to Tibet, it came to Xinjiang, etc., etc. The reason why there is independence movement in Xinjiang and in Tibet is because of that. We are a different nation. We are different. We are not part of you. I am discussing this because question might come, nation state or state, don't get confused. In general, it is same as far as GS is concerned. This is the concluding remark as far as nation state is concerned. Very important aspect is 4 components should be there.
But then India is a nation state or not?
No.
No.
In the traditional sense of the term, no. But unfortunately, as of today, there is increasing movement towards building a nation state as India is concerned. I'll explain that after the class.
But why unfortunately, sir, it's a good thing? Say fortunately.
That is why I'm saying I'll explain that after class. Now the question is, fine, we agree that this is state should have this, etc. Sovereignty is a term which means absolute power or absolute supremacy, internally and externally. Now the question is, sovereignty is the authority or power, right? Power to take decision, internally and externally. The question is, who will take decision? Who will take decision? The government will take decision. Government will take decision. Now the question is, if government will take decision, can the government take any decision? In general, there can be 2 forms of government. What are they? 2 forms of government in general. I would classify these 2 forms of government. One as democratic government. I would say non-democratic government. Because monarchy can also be democracy. Right? Democratic government and non-democratic government. Now what is the meaning of the democracy? What is democracy? What is democracy? Simply means rule by people. Simple. Now the question is, can people rule directly? Rule by people? Simple. I am not going to the technicality of it, because my purpose is to enhance your understanding. Democracy is ruled by people. Can the people rule directly? Yes, why not? Can.
Yes.
Why is it representative?
Sir, many countries in Switzerland, they
The-
have right to resolve directly.
I am simply asking, is it possible theoretically for people to rule? Vatican is a country, how many...
Practically also, sir.
it theoretically it is possible, practically it will be difficult because of the something called population and complexity of governance, etc., etc. But theoretically it is possible. So rule by people can be direct or something called indirect. We call indirect democracy as representative democracy. Clear? So democracy can be direct or
Indirect.
also known as representative. Representative means people are electing their representatives for governing themselves. Sovereignty is exercised by the government. The government can be two types, democratic or non-democratic. In a democratic government, democracy, if ruled by people, can be two types. People can directly rule or they can elect their representative to rule, which is known as representative democracy. Now the question is, most of the democracies are representative democracies. Now the question is whether the people who are elected by the people, the representatives who are elected by the people can take any decision. Sovereignty exercised by government, elected by people, democracy. Can the government take any decision in order to execute sovereignty? Government can say that I am sovereign. I am exercising the sovereignty on behalf of the people. Can the government take any decision?
No, sir.
If a government can take any decision, then that government is not democratic at all. Come back to this. Non-democratic government. So if we are defining democracy as ruled by people, or people are electing their representatives who rule on behalf of them, what is the characteristic of this non-democracy? There won't be any rule by people. Correct? No rule by people. So, who will rule? Who will rule here?
Maybe army, bureaucrat.
Okay. Okay. So you are saying military might rule?
Like in
Myanmar this is happening. It has happened in Pakistan. It has happened in Bangladesh.
Syria, many countries.
Military can rule or
Afghanistan.
hereditary. Hereditary. Like where? Hereditary rulers.
Sir, Gulf countries.
Gulf countries, West Asia. Or there can be single party rule. Single party. China, we call it this as single party rule as totalitarianism. Or there can be one single ruler, like it has happened in Libya. Autocracy or authoritarianism, etc., etc.
So like in Afghanistan, Taliban.
Taliban as a group, totalitarianism. Where do you put China here?
Single party.
China is democratic or non-democratic?
Non-democratic.
China democratic?
China कैसे डेमोक्रेसी हो जाएगा? उसी पार्टी में इलेक्शन हो जाते हैं, उसी में प्रेसिडेंट बन जाता है। दूसरी पार्टी नहीं होगी।
We had election, yes, fine. According to him, there is election in China, yes, agree, there is election. China says China is the largest democracy in this world because the number of people who vote. But everything is decided. Who will conduct the election? Who will win the election? Who will vote the election? Everything is predetermined. So there is election. But again, election is not the sum and bonum of democracy. That we will see. Anyway, let's leave it. Let's come back to this. Representative democracy. India is what? Representative democracy?
Yes.
Because people elect their representatives in the assembly as well as in the parliament. And from there, a government is formed who take decision on behalf of people. Can the government, can the representative take any decision without any control, without any limitation? Why? Why the executive? The term executive means government. Oh, sorry. Let me put it this way. In general, the term government includes three organs. In general, the term government includes three organs. What are they? Executive, legislature, and judiciary. So, but technically speaking, the term government means executive of the day. The term government means executive, which means council of ministers, central and state. So when I am using the word government here, I am using this word in relation with executive. Any doubt? See, again, there are three organs of the state. What are the three organs of the state? We have seen four components of the state. These are three organs of the state. Strictly speaking, three organs of the state. One organ is the government. Second organ is the legislature. Third organ is the judiciary. Clear? But this state and this government are used interchangeably. I am saying government means you can use this way also or this way also. But the most appropriate is this. Three organs of the state, not three organs of the government. When you use the word government, what is the idea that you are having in your mind?
It's about executive.
Executive, ministers. When I am using the word government of India, do you think about Parliament of India or judiciary or the government or the Prime Minister and ministers?
Executive, PM and council.
In general, it is executive, PM, headed, the council minister headed by Prime Minister. But I am using the word government in this sense. I am including all the three here. People are electing who? The parliament, and from parliament a government is formed. Can the parliament and the executive leave aside judiciary? Because judiciary is not elected by people.
This is the current debate.
I will get into that. Can the parliament and the executive, which are elected by people, representative people, can take any decision? Because they say that people have given me authority to take decision. Can they do it? Why can't they do it?
Because they are limited and they are restrained by the other two pillars. So judiciary.
In China, there is election. There is a parliament in China. There is a government in China. Can they take any decision? They can.
Yes.
Why? Because there is no democracy.
Even there is no separation of power like India.
Just because there is a government and elected assembly does not mean that there is no check on the power of the government. I'm going to say this. China, there is a government which is elected by people. There is election. Can Chinese government take any decision?
Yes, sir.
Does China have a constitution?
Yes, sir.
What kind of constitution? Written, unwritten? Can Indian government take any decision, any action? Why? Huh? We have written constitution. No. You are saying that India is a democracy, representative democracy. There is election, there is a government, but the government cannot take any decision because there is something called constitution.
Yes, sir.
So what is the function of constitution?
To create check and balance on the government.
Constitution is one which prevents the government from overstepping its authority. So constitution limits the power of government. Constitution limits, restricts the power of government. So whenever there is constitution, in general it is said that a constitution restricts the power of government. So a democracy has a constitution. So can I say that democratic government is a limited government?
Yes, sir.
A democratic government is a limited government.
And sir, it is not also the same that if you have democracy, then you have written constitution. Like Britain, they don't.
I know that. I will explain that, don't worry. The reason why I am standing here because I might be knowing it, right? Isn't it?
I know, sir.
I am coming to that. I am coming to that because there is a structure, system. Let me follow that. A democratic government is a limited government. Because in general, democratic governments have constitutions. And constitutions limit the power of the organs of the state. Is it? Now, constitution, as you rightly said, there can be written or unwritten. Constitution can be written or unwritten, which means
So next page we turn to you.
what is a written constitution? India has which type of constitution? What does it mean, written constitution?
Sir, the function of every organ is well defined, and those who are not defined, they left up to the wisdom of the parliamentarians.
So every clause is discussed and then written.
By a constitutional assembly.
So are you saying that the Constitution of India, there is the fundamental law of the land is codified, written down in a book? So if I am seeing this, if I show you this Constitution of India, so this is the Constitution of India. Isn't it? So everything is written down, various clauses, provision, etc., etc. So can there be any constitution which is unwritten?
Yes, sir. Britain. UK.
What is the meaning of an unwritten constitution?
Uncodified.
What is the meaning of that, uncodified?
Here,
Not very
There are different
here
statutes.
constitution is
There are different
section.
statutes, not a single book.
Okay. So if I say,
convention.
very good, an unwritten constitution is one where the fundamental law of the land is not written down in a single book. If you ask me to show you the Constitution of USA for UK, then I may have to take you to a library and show you this book, that book, this is etc., etc. are the combination. This is the Constitution, and this is not the Constitution. These are most of the part of Constitution. There are something called conventions.
yes, sir.
Conventions also part of Constitution. So unwritten Constitution, you cannot say this is, you cannot simply show one book saying that this is the Constitution. Constitution can be written or unwritten.
Yes.
Now I want to ask you, can there be any check on the government
Yes.
in the context of an unwritten constitution?
Yes, sir.
Is it necessary to have a written constitution for checking the power of government?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So when there is parliament,
Yes, sir.
then there is debate and discussion. It's a kind of check and balance on that.
What is the advantage of written constitution?
So your area of domain where you have to work is well.
Less chance to get converted into dictator.
Sir, multiple interpretations will be less.
Okay, multiple interpretation, as you rightly said, there can be less chances. Rigidity is there.
Yes.
Whenever a government of the day tries to overstep its authority, then we can see that whether the authority given to that government is as per the constitution or not. If it is not, then there is an organ called judiciary which can step in and try to prevent the overstepping of the power of the government. Is it possible to do the same thing in a country where there is no written constitution?
Where? There is unwritten constitution.
Where there is no written constitution.
No, sir. Parliament is the.
As you rightly said, UK is something having an unwritten constitution. So does unwritten constitution mean an absolutely all-powerful government?
Pardon?
Does an unwritten constitution mean an all-powerful government?
In Britain, it is Parliament is supreme.
No.
No, sir.
No, sir.
But sir, there is debate and discussion, opposition, sir. There is also check and balance.
As far as the Parliament of Britain is concerned, or right, it is known as Parliament has sovereignty. Parliamentary sovereignty is the basis of the governance of Britain. The only reason is that there is no written constitution as such. If there is no written constitution, there is no judicial review of the law made by the Parliament. Because the law made by the Parliament cannot be checked with reference to constitution. But which means that can the Parliament make any law?
Yes.
The legislature can keep a check on executive.
Parliament can check the executive.
Right.
But does that mean Parliament will be supreme? Can the Parliament do anything? Parliament says, if you see there is no constitution, there is no written constitution, there is no judicial review, right, for our act, and we are being elected by the people, so we are supreme, we can do anything. Can that be done?
No.
Why
No, sir.
it cannot be done? And I believe it. You are saying it cannot be done. Which means even in the context of an unwritten constitution, the Parliament or the government for that matter cannot do anything according to their will. There is still checks and balances, there is still what we call some restriction, limitation. Despite having a unwritten constitution. So it is not necessary that there should be written constitution for having a limited government. Are you able to understand what I am trying to say?
Yes, sir.
For a limited government, it is not necessary to have written constitution. The powers of the government or the Parliament can also be curtailed, restricted, reduced, limited, even when there is unwritten constitution. This New Zealand, which constitution has? Which is the constitution this has? New Zealand has. Which is the type? Unwritten. Sure.
No idea.
Sure. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Yes. Israel. Which constitution?
Unwritten.
Unwritten. Now I want to ask you one thing. As you said rightly, that despite UK has an unwritten constitution, the Parliament cannot do anything. Parliament cannot take any decision, cannot make any law. Parliament cannot act like a non-democratic government, an absolute government. Parliament cannot be absolute, although there is parliamentary sovereignty. Why there is parliamentary sovereignty? Because there is no written constitution. Because there is no written constitution, there cannot be any judicial review of parliamentary law. That does not mean that there is no check on the working of Parliament. What is the check in unwritten constitution on the working of the Parliament? What is the check?
Sir, other members else than the executive.
The Parliament has, as rightly said, debate and discussion. Even the members of the ruling party, they vote against the government. Recently, 3 prime ministers have been changed in UK.
Yes, sir.
What is Boris Johnson, Theresa May, and now is the third one.
No, not Theresa May, sir.
Liz Truss.
Liz Truss. Theresa May was earlier. Sorry, Liz Truss. Right. So there is inner party democracy.
Yes.
So although there is parliamentary sovereignty, Parliament cannot do anything. Parliament cannot act like a monarch or something in this non-democratic system. So a limited government can be found in a constitution which is unwritten and written. I'll ask you one question. Does written constitution necessarily imply a limited government? Does written constitution necessarily imply limited government? There is written constitution, so there is checks on the government. Is it true?
Right.
I am asking true or false.
Not necessarily.
No, sir.
Why not necessarily?
Depends लिखा गया है उसमें.
Huh?
Depends लिखा गया है उसमें.
Depends.
What is there?
Absolutely.
Fundamental right.
China has written constitution.
Fundamental rights नहीं होंगी तो कौन सी limitation?
बिल्कुल सही बात है. China is classic example. China has written constitution, but Chinese government is absolutist. It cannot do anything. Can't do anything. Nobody is there to question it. There is a single party. So written constitution does not necessarily mean limited government. Written constitution does not mean a limited government necessarily. Are you able to understand what I am trying to say?
Yes.
A limited government is a constitutional government. A limited government is also known as a constitutional government. Now, why if it's so? I am saying a limited government, also known as constitutional government. A government whose power is restricted, reduced, controlled is also known as a constitutional government. Does this mean that this constitution should be written, or it can be unwritten also? It can be both. So a written constitution or unwritten constitution can lead to a limited government. A limited government is also known as constitutional government, which means a government which works as per the limitation of constitution. It can be written or unwritten. Constitutional government is a limited government because the government of the day works as per the limitation given in the constitution, whether it is written constitution or unwritten constitution. UK is an example of unwritten constitution. The government or the parliament works within the limitation. India is a written constitution. The government and the parliament works under the limitation.
So can you explain the concept constitutionalism?
I am coming to that. Don't worry. I am coming to that. I'll come sequence wise. Right? Don't worry. When the power of the government is limited, restricted, controlled, then the government is known as constitutional government. For a constitutional government, the constitution can be written or unwritten. Written constitution does not necessarily mean constitutional government. Are you able to understand what I am trying to say? Written constitution does not necessarily mean constitutional government. Unwritten constitution does not mean absence of constitutional government. Constitutional government can be present in written or unwritten constitution. There is no it is not necessary that a written constitution will necessarily lead to constitutional government. No. The word constitutional here means limitation. This limitation can be based upon written constitution or unwritten constitution. Just because there is written constitution does not mean there is constitutional government. See, why am I explaining this in different dimensions, different aspects? Because these are the way in which questions are framed. Conceptual clarity is very much important. Can there be constitutional government when the constitution is unwritten?
Yes.
Yes. Can there be constitutional government when the constitution is written?
Yes.
When the constitution is written?
Yes.
Written constitution necessarily means limited government. Is it true?
Not necessarily.
No. Unwritten constitution means absolute government. True or false?
No. False.
False. So you understood what is constitutional government, what is limited government, democracy. Now question is, when the government is limited, when the government is constitutional, when there is constitutional government, then we say that that state has constitutionalism. When there is constitutional government, we say there is constitutionalism. What there is? Constitutionalism. When there is constitutional government, then we say that there is constitutionalism. When there is limited government, we say there is constitutionalism. When the power of the government is restricted, controlled, limited, then we say there is constitutionalism. Now what is constitutionalism? What is the meaning of this ism? Whenever the word ism comes, it implies an ideology. Socialism, communism, Taoism, Confucianism, nationalism, patriotism, all isms. Ideology. Ideology means set of beliefs about something. How something should be organized. How something should be conducted. How something should be implemented. Constitutionalism is a political ideology which says that the government should be limited and there should be rule of law. Constitutionalism is a political ideology which advocates that the government's power should be limited and there should be rule of law. So two important components of constitutionalism is limited government and
Supremacy of constitution.
it depends upon where you use. Constitutionalism, political ideology, which means set of belief about how the state should function. The government should be limited, which means powers of the government should be restricted. And there should be rule of law, which means there should not be any arbitrariness. Law should apply equally. We will deal with rule of law in the fundamental rights chapter. Now tell me, a constitutional government is based upon the idea of constitutionalism, correct or not? A constitutional government is based upon the ideology of constitutionalism. Is it correct or not?
Yes, sir.
It is correct. Very good. Fine. When there is constitutionalism, the government's power is limited. When there is constitutionalism, no organ can overstep its authority.
Yes.
Yes? When there is constitutionalism, there is constitutional government. When there is constitutionalism, there is democratic government. Yes or no?
Yes.
Not necessarily, sir.
Why not?
Sir, yes, definitely. It must be democratic. If it is not
When there is constitutionalism,
सर बहुत सारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तो ऐसे भी हैं जहाँ पे मतलब डेमोक्रेटिक और इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट्स नहीं हैं,
कहाँ पे?
बट लाइक दे हैव द
कहाँ पे? एग्जाम्पल बताओ.
like sir West Asian countries, they have the constitution but they're not democratic.
Do they have constitutionalism? You are saying West Asian countries.
They have the constitution, sir. Like
Whether the government is limited or not,
it's not limited, sir.
then there is no constitutionalism.
But they have this constitution.
If there is, I am not dealing with constitution.
Okay.
I am using the word constitutionalism. Constitution and constitutionalism are different things. What happened?
Nothing, sir.
You're fine?
Yeah, sore throat, sore throat, that's why.
Sartra. Okay, fine. You need water?
No, I have.
Okay, fine. Very good. Constitutionalism means limited government. Limited government means constitutional government. I am saying when there is constitutionalism, then there is democratic government. Democratic government can lead to constitutionalism. Democratic government means what? Government whose power is controlled by democratic process. In general, democratic government have constitution. So constitution, whether it is written or unwritten, limit the power of the government. You are saying West Asia. West Asian countries have constitution, but they are not democratic. China has constitution, not democratic. When there is no democracy, there will not be any constitutionalism, because the government will not be limited. The government will be unlimited, absolutist government, all powerful government.
Yes, sir.
Any doubt here? Democratic governments are constitutional government. Mark the word R. Democratic governments are constitutional government.
Yes, sir.
Because democratic governments have constitutions, whether unwritten or written, which limit the power of the government.
Right.
Whenever there is a limited government, there is 100% constitution.
It is not necessary always.
इतनी देर से तो यही कह रहे हैं हम।
Have I used anywhere, only, always? Have I used these terms?
So what is except? Abdicate.
That's why every word is important. Powers of the government is limited, restricted, controlled in constitutionalism. Right? But the question is, constitution does not mean. Anyway, leave it.
Emergency वगैरह की वजह से
A written constitution does not necessarily lead to constitutionalism. Number one, a written constitution does not necessarily lead to constitutionalism. An unwritten constitution may have constitutionalism.
Yes.
If an individual who's accused of a crime, his her house is demolished without backing of any law, then the government is using its unlimited power. Who is enforcing, who is using the powers of the government? The ministers and the bureaucracy. The police in this country are part of government. If there is custodial torture, encounter death, then can you say that the government is limited? If the government targets one particular community, can you say that the government is limited? Can you say that? No. Whenever there is instances of unlimited excess of power, then we will say that there is no constitutionalism. Written constitution, India has written constitution. Written constitution limits the power of the government, true. But written constitution does not necessarily lead to limited government. Despite India being a democracy, that if it is said that
in theory it should be, but practically
in theory it should be.
in practicality it's not there.
It depends upon multiple factors.
In practicality, it depends on how you use it. On the name of law, on the name of...
If every individual, every agency of the government act as per the law, then the government is limited. Acting within the confines of the law, limited government. If the individual, if the government functionary agency oversteps authority, which is not given in the law, then it is unlimited. Then we will say there is no constitutionalism. But in general,
Define क्या करेंगे, कैसे करेंगे?
constitutionalism वो लिखो. Constitutionalism is a political concept. Constitutionalism is a political concept that advocates a limited government and observance of rule of law. Observe. अरे ऐसे मत देखो यार. Don't worry. Observance of rule of law. कहने का मतलब है there should be limited government, rule of law. My point is this: whether a written constitution is necessary for constitutionalism?
No.
Why? Whether written constitution is necessary for constitutionalism?
No, sir.
Not necessary.
Not necessary.
Whether unwritten constitution can also lead to constitutionalism?
Yes.
Possible?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
So I am saying constitutionalism is the ideology and constitutional government is the manifestation of constitutionalism. Constitutionalism is the ideology and this constitutional government is the manifestation of this ideology.
Yes, sir.
Constitution leads to constitutional government. This ideology, this is practice. actual implementation. This is abstract, this is concrete. You are able to understand what I am trying to say?
Yeah.
So what we have done so far is, what time ho gaya? We started from state. We discussed what are the components of state. Sovereignty, territory, population and government. We said that sovereignty is exercised by government. Sovereignty means absolute power, internally or externally. But I want to ask you one thing. Can there be absolute sovereignty when there is constitutionalism?
No,
So
Yes.
because there are many international conventions.
The idea of the state.
So can you please repeat the question? What did you ask?
Wait, I'll do that. भूल गया मैं वैसे. Anyway, give me a second. The idea of state, of the territory, population, sovereignty, government, etc., is a concept which originated from this period, 1648. There was a treaty called Westphalian Treaty. क्या नाम है उसका? Westphalian.
Westphalian.
1648. It is not necessary to know about this, but I want to tell you that at that point in time, democracy was nowhere. 1648, monarchical system, absolute hereditary rule, etc., etc. So at that point in time, the government had absolute sovereignty because there has been no checks on them. No written constitution, no unwritten constitution. The monarchy was there. No democracy. But as of today, this is not the case. The way we see the nation state or a state which was conceptualized in 17th century is not the same today. The modern state is not the state of 1648. The sovereignty of modern state is limited by democracy, by constitution, by constitutionalism and various other mechanisms like free press, etc., etc. Sovereignty, even we say, is absolute. It was absolute in the 17th, 18th century. But democracy and the evolution of democracy has restricted the sovereignty of the government. Because a government having been elected cannot carry out any action, any decision. So sovereignty even today is limited. A limited sovereignty you can see when there is constitutional government. If I say one of the characteristics of a constitutional government is limited sovereignty, is the statement correct or not?
Yes.
Okay, I'll explain. I am saying that the idea of state, of sovereignty, territory, population, etc., etc., this is a 17th century concept. At that point in time, the nations were organized on the basis of hereditary, the monarchy. So there was no democracy, like in India, the Mughals and various other dynasties. So there was no control over them. So if there was no control, they could have done anything. So they could have taken any decision. So they were absolute. The emperors of 17th, 18th century were absolutist. Absolute means no restriction. The term absolutism means absolutism. क्या meaning है इसका?
No check.
Supreme power. हाँ. No check, no control. Any decision can be taken. Anything can be done. Complete authority.
Even outside their territory.
Theoretically, yes. Because in 1648, the idea behind the Westphalian Treaty was this. Because earlier what happened, the territories, this Westphalia is a region in Germany. In Germany, there was something called 30 years war. Not only in Germany, in various countries, Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, etc., etc. 30 years fought against each other. And before that, they fought against each other for 80 years. 80. So, perpetual war. They decided that this war should be stopped. In order to stop the war, territorial integrity needs to be demarcated and adhered to. So territorial integrity, sovereignty, this concept came after the 1648 war. 1648 treaty. So concept of sovereignty, a government, etc., having sovereignty internally and externally. This idea came after the 1648. Earlier, these territories were part of the Roman Empire. Roman Empire has control over the most of the territories, and not only that, the Pope, the religious head. So these territories, this Germany, Sweden, and various other states, they were controlled by Pope and Roman Empire. So do you think that they were externally free? Because a German, let's say the state of Germany or the country of Germany want to take a decision. Germany wants to stop the war with Sweden. But Pope says no, keep on going on war. Don't stop the war. So stopping the war is an external relation. External. So do you think that the Germany was externally sovereign? No. But 1648, independence of foreign policy came into being. If you see IR, you'll understand this. Independence of foreign policy, internal sovereignty, external sovereignty became the norm of nation state. Although there were breaches, but this has become the basis. But again, the countries were organized on the basis of hereditary. The prince, monarchy, etc., etc. Democracy was absent. But when democracy came, people started ruling. Organs came. Separation of power came. So all these things try to restrict the control of the government. So sovereignty today is limited. Parliamentary sovereignty, where in Britain, can parliament being sovereign in Britain can do anything? So does the sovereignty of parliament is limited?
Yes.
If it limited by written constitution? No. So sovereignty is also limited. Limited sovereignty means constitutional government. A constitutional government has limited sovereignty, especially internally. Is it correct or not? A constitutional government has limited internal sovereignty.
Yes.
No.
Internal or
Internal तो अपनी मर्जी से independent है.
करेगा? अच्छा? तभी तो the Vice President of India is saying Parliament is supreme. Parliament can do anything. Can Parliament do anything? Can Government of India do anything? Okay. Can the Government of India do anything internally? Can the Parliament of India make law in the state list in normal circumstances?
No.
So there is limitation. So the act of making a law in state list is an act of sovereignty. Can it do? No, which means limited sovereignty. A constitutional government is a government having limited sovereignty internally. Is it correct or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
A democratic government has limited sovereignty. Is it correct or not?
Yes.
Constitutionalism means presence of constitutional government.
Yes.
Constitutionalism means presence of limited government. In democratic government, there can be constitutionalism.
Yes.
Every word, every letter, every sentence, every word is important. A written constitution means limited sovereignty always.
No. No. No.
No?
Yes. Yes.
Clear? An unwritten constitution means absolute sovereignty.
No.
No. Absolute है क्यों नहीं है?
China में
नहीं, ये अगर डेमोक्रेसी है
हाँ. So what all we discussed? Can we recall? Nation state, sovereignty, state, democracy, democratic government, constitutionalism.
Yes. Separation of powers.
Limited government, constitutional government.
Yes, sir.
So we discussed here that limited sovereignty, like internal sovereignty, like Parliament can't make laws in state lists.
Absolutely cannot.
Normal circumstances.
Huh.
And also, with respect to external sovereignty, like we can't invade any country or we can't, do anything. Like we as a
Nobody is stopping you from not invading a country. If a country wants to decide that it should invade, it will. Russia has done that, despite being stopped not to do it. But any country which works as a basis of, see, constitutionalism means limitation. The government cannot take any decision. Government, without any factual reason, cannot invade a country. There will be public opinion, which will limit its power. The reason Russia has invaded Ukraine is because of Russia is not democratic. There is no constitution in Russia. The government is unlimited. Putin is a dictator.
so if any country does that, so it goes against this idea of limited sovereignty.
The country does not feel that it is limited. Russia does not feel that it is limited. Putin says that I am the god in Russia, I will do anything. Because his sons' daughters are not going to the battlefield. It is the poor Russians, their sons and daughters, fathers, husbands, mother, etc. are going there and dying in the battlefield. Are you able to understand what I am trying to say? Any country which is a responsible nation will take decision internally and externally based upon some constraints.
And sir, even through 100 Amendment Act, we exchange territory with Bangladesh with the concerns in the parliament.
No, he raised a valid point here. I am going to see, he's talking about external sovereignty. Although this is not something which I decided to discuss, but I am saying internally there is limitation. Does that mean externally there is limitation? Can India take any decision with respect to external relation?
No.
Does our foreign policy is limited? India is a part of WTO, World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization has some rules and regulations with respect to free trade. India being a member of WTO cannot go against the rules of WTO. For instance, imposing tariff on import. If India says that I will impose 100% tariff on goods from USA, which is not permitted by WTO, which is an external decision.
Yes, sir.
Can India do that? If India does it, then USA will go to this WTO. India being a responsible country, member of this WTO, if WTO rules against India, India will have to withdraw this. India has done that multiple times.
Yes, sir.
So in the context of globalization, in the context of countries' membership in international institutions like WTO, IMF, World Bank, etc., external sovereignty is also limited.
So we can say that we are constrained by the internationalism.
Internationalism also provides opportunity to us. But yes, that is how the countries work. If you're part of an international organization, that you see, before admitting you as a member, you have to agree that I will abide by the rules and regulations of this. Ultimately, what this is implying? Rule-based trade order. The rule will be adhered to, obeyed by all, which is beneficial for all. If free trade is helpful to India, India wants that other countries in WTO should also abide by the rules. So rule-based world order, although restricts to sovereignty of countries, is essentially helping the countries to grow and develop. As of today, sovereignty is limited internally as well as externally. But there are countries like Russia who do not care about these aspects because there is no democracy. But democratic government, as you mentioned, is constitutional government. But democratic government can be again classified into two major types. What are they?
Presidential.
Sorry? No, that is not we are concerned about. I am saying democratic government. Democratic government can be classified into republican form of government and monarchical form of government. What happened?
नहीं
Okay. Does monarchical government means absence of democracy? Monarchical government means a government whose head is a monarch.
No,
Yes.
no, sir.
Monarch means hereditary,
Yes.
Khandani,
Yes.
that. So he is saying monarchical government means non-democratic government. Is it true?
No.
No. UK is there.
No, sir.
The
One of
UK,
the good
Japan,
examples.
Thailand, Spain.
So you are saying the monarchical government can be democratic or non-democratic.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia,
वो तो सर monarchical भी है और non-democratic.
monarchic and non-democratic. UK, monarchical
Democratic.
but democratic. Why UK is known as monarchical plus democratic?
Head of the state is
Yes, belongs to the monarch, belongs to the
Head of the
royal.
government
Ultimate
is
authority is in the head of monarch.
Sorry?
The head of the state is monarch.
Yes, sir.
I am using the word. Why UK is what was that?
Monarchical democracy.
Monarchical democracy, or put it differently, constitutional monarchy.
Yes, it is a constitutional monarch.
Why?
because the head of the state is
No, absolutely not.
the
No. It is not the reason for this.
Decisions are taken in the name of Her Majesty.
No, absolutely not. That's not the reason. In UK, there is democracy, democratic form of government is there. But the head of the government is hereditary, not elected. Right? Queen Elizabeth, कौन थे अभी जिनकी डेथ हुई थी recently?
The state is
I understand. I am saying it is not the reason for this.
head of the government is the PM.
That fine, but that is not the reason here. The fundamental, okay, let me get into this. The difference between a republican form of government and a monarchical form of government under the larger matrix of democratic government is hereditary position.
It's a limited time. India is a republic democracy, so the head is for a limited time.
The reason why we are classifying this democratic government into republican government and monarchical is the head of the state is elected or hereditary. UK, hereditary. India, head of the state, कौन है? President.
Yes, sir.
Elected. But I am saying, although the head of the state in UK is hereditary, UK is known as constituted monarchy.
Yes.
Or UK has both democracy and monarchy. Why is it so?
Why is it so? Sir, it's up to their parliamentarians and those who decide. They,
So the constitution is given
Elizabeth. Here, the monarchy or the monarch is head of the state.
yes.
But the head of the state is lacking any real power.
yes.
The power of the head of the state is limited by the constitution. The reason UK is known as constitutional monarchy is because the power of monarchy is limited by the constitution. A constitutional monarchy is one where the power of the monarchy is limited by the constitution. A constitutional monarchy means limited government, although the system is monarchical. There can be constitutional government in constitutional monarchy. There can be constitutional government in constitutional monarchy. There can be constitutionalism in constitutional monarchy. Constitutional monarchy can lead to constitutionalism. Can. I am not saying always. So whether a country has republican form of government or a monarchical form of government does not necessarily mean there is constitutional government or absence of constitutional government. Democratic government can be present in republican form of government and monarchical form of government. Democratic government is a government by election. Simply put, election. In UK there is election. In India there is election. But India is republican because head of the state is elected. Here head of the state is hereditary. But both India has, UK have election. So both are democratic. Are both democratic. India is constitutional government.
But we don't have
In
elections for monarch.
sorry,
In Britain, you don't have elections for monarch.
who's saying that? I'm simply saying there is election in UK. There is election in UK. So there is democracy in UK. There is monarchy in UK. So monarchy and democracy can coexist in UK. Monarchy and democracy can coexist in UK. The power of the monarch is limited. When the power of the monarch is limited, then the system is known as constitutional monarchy. Saudi Arabia, there is a monarch.
Sir, but how can we call it democracy then? Also, we are calling it democracy, but when the monarch is not elected.
Democracy is a process. Head of the state here is nominal, does not have any real power. He or she cannot exercise sovereignty.
That's fine, sir, but he or she is the monarch, head, and he or she is not elected.
Huh?
So how can it be a democratic government?
Why not? There is a functionary who, for the name's sake, is holding a position, has no real power. The power lies with the people and people's representative. And not only that, when this monarch takes any decision, it is countersigned by a minister. So who has power?
So the power lies with the people, power lies with the MPs, sir. But my question is, they are not elected, the monarchs.
That is why he is monarch or she is monarch.
So
If there is election, you can't call that person monarch.
why are we calling it democracy then, sir?
Because democracy is the process of government, form of government. Democratic government is having the real power.
Okay.
India has a president, he is elected, head of the state. Does India president have power or the prime minister?
Sir, but our president is elected.
I am asking, who has the real sovereignty? The president or the prime minister in Indian context? Both are elected.
Both are elected, both have powers.
I am asking, who has the real sovereignty?
So the PM with the Council of
Minister. Because president, despite being elected, he is a nominal head. Here, does not matter whether you elect or non-elect. The person is nominal head. See, there are historical reasons for some countries which still follow this. They have a fascination for this British Empire. Not only UK, there are multiple countries. If you see the Scandinavian nations, Norway, Sweden, Netherlands, Belgium, all these are constitutional democracy. My point is this. A monarchy can be constitutional. A monarchy can be unlimited. A monarchy in West Asia, it is unlimited, not limited. A monarchy in Britain is limited because there is constitutional democracy. And under the constitution with parliament controls the power of the monarch.
So I am confused over this concept of a monarchy can be a democracy. Like how can, I'm still there, sir.
What is the meaning of democracy?
So rule of the
For democracy, if I am saying there is democratic government, what does it mean?
elected government or rule by the
What is the fundamental necessity for democracy? There are three major things which are required for democracy. What are they? Regular election. Regular. Second one, free and fair. Third one, universal adult franchise. Three fundamental requirements for democracy. Democracy is the form of organizing a government. If democracy is ruled by people, real power to people, whether in Britain there is election, yes, there is election. Who's having the real power? The people and the representatives. Right? That's it. A parliamentary form of government. There is Britain parliamentary form of government. In India, parliamentary form of government. Both have election. Both have elections. But the head of the state is different. Head of the state has most of the same power. The fundamental reason why we are calling this monarchy is democracy, because democracy is the form of government. Power lies with the people. Although the head of the state is hereditary. It is true that in modern context, in modern times, this idea of a hereditary ruler is anachronistic, which means it is not in consonance with time. We cannot have a system where there is hereditary. Some people, just because they are born into one family, are having this kind of positions, power, etc. But then that is the nation state of UK. It is their internal matter. Let them do it. But it is only nominal. Their power is highly restricted. That was not the case earlier. 1256. What is this? 1256 Magna Carta was signed between the king and the barons. This was the beginning of the restriction of power of monarchy. Earlier, Britain was not considered monarchy. Earlier, Britain was absolute monarchy. But when there was evolution of constitution, unwritten, democracy, the parliament and the people gradually try to capture the power or take the power from the monarch. So, transfer of power happened. When power transfers from the rulers to the ruled, then there is democracy. Whether it is nominal, whether it is the head of the state is elected, or this. Presidential form of government, head of the state and head of the government is the same. Elected. Democracy is there. Democracy is not a static concept. It has to mold itself according to circumstances. Every nation has their own history, their own unique circumstances. India has been ruled by Britain. It is said that India has taken the Constitution of India has taken multiple provisions from Government of India Act, etc., etc. It is said that Indian Constitution is a via media between parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. Now the question is, why India has not taken the same thing as Britain had? Britain is a parliament democracy, India is also a parliament democracy. Why there is difference between India and UK? Unique circumstances. Every country has unique circumstances, unique needs, unique aspiration, unique demands. That is the reason they have different types of system of government.
So why do they have parliamentary supremacy in Britain?
Because there is no written constitution. There is no judicial review of law made by the parliament. But it is more theoretical. We will deal with parliamentary sovereignty, supremacy in parliament chapter. I am saying democratic government can be, constitutional monarchy can have limited government.
Yes, sir.
A constitutional monarchy can have democratic government.
Yes.
Democracy and constitutional monarchy are not antithetical to each other, are not opposed to each other. Is it true? I am saying constitutional democracy, constitutional monarchy and democracy are not opposite to each other. True?
Yes, sir.
It is not necessary that they are opposite. What is the fundamental idea behind democracy? Ruled by people, which means people have the intelligence, ability, capacity to choose their rulers, the representative who will rule on behalf of them. This is the idea. So democracy believes that the people will choose the right representatives. People have their vote. They will vote and choose their representative who they think can govern and meet their own needs. The votes of the people will be based upon intelligence, calculations. So ordinary people's intelligence, their capability is the basis of democracy. Democracy means everyone having that 18 years of age in Indian context can vote. Now, do you think that every individual will have the same level of intelligence, same level of education, same level of capacity, same level of knowledge? Yes or no? No, but still everybody is getting this voting right. The fundamental belief is that despite the differences between the level of education, wealth and various other attributes, human beings are capable. They have intelligence to decide what is best for us. So intelligence of ordinary people, capacity of ordinary human beings are the fundamental basis for a democratic form of government. The question is this: we have started from state and we have seen a lot of concepts and ideas. Now the question is this: what should be the role of the state in economy? In economic system, what should be the role of the state? Whether the state, which means the government of the day, should set up establishments, PSUs, and manufacture goods and services, and what should be the role of private sector in this country? The role of state in economy. Whether the state should provide the goods and services for people, or the state should let the private sector, the market, to provide goods and services to people.
Sir, it's the state's duty to provide the infrastructure in terms of law provisions to the private players. They come and produce goods and services to the masses.
State should play a role of a mediator. It should not
Facilitator.
facilitate.
Okay.
Depend upon the ideology, if the state is
Ideology, that's the key issue here. I am using the word state in common terms. In Indian state, the Cuban state, the Chinese state, the British state, etc., etc. Depending upon the nature of state in economic system, in production, distribution, there are three ways of categorizing the state. There are three prominent views or ideologies which provide differing prescriptions related to the nature of state, the role of state in economic system. Whether the state should provide everything, whether the state should control everything, or whether the state should withdraw or provide the private sector to play a major role in the provision of goods and services, or there is another ideology that whether there should be state at all. We are dealing with the role of state in economy. Economy means what? Production, distribution, and what is that? Production?
Distribution and taxation.
No.
Distribution.
Okay. Whether the state produce and distribute goods and services to people. If the state should not do, then what should be the role of state in economy? Should the state withdraw and let the private sector play a major role in provision of goods and services? This has been the debate right from 17th century or even beyond that. That what should be the role of state in economy is concerned. Should the state only provide, as he said, the infrastructure, or should the state only provide security, law and order, security, state integrity?
Sir,
That's it.
Here infrastructure means all the things, law and order.
Whether the state should do that, whether the functions of the state in the economy is like providing only the superstructure. There should be law and order, there should be what we say, rules, regulation. If there is theft, etc., the state should step in. There should be legal system, and let the private player they function properly. Let there be freedom of business. One group of people say that yes, this should be the approach. One group of people will say no. State should have the primary role in economy. One group of people will say no. There should not be any state at all. we are going to divide the state or as per the role of state in economy. There are three major ideologies that discuss the role of state in economy. What is that?
Socialism, communism.
Role of state in one ideology is capitalism. One is, third one is what are they? What are they? Item. Capitalism. What? What is capitalism?
Complete control of market economics.
An economic ideology. True? Socialism.
Sir, India produce welfare model.
More economical. Less political. Communism. Political and economic. Capitalism says the state should have no role in the economy. Let the private sector or the market function with freedom of business. State's role is to provide the necessary law and order system, necessary rules and regulation. So here,
State has no business in this.
state has nothing to do with economic system except providing the rules and regulation and maintenance of law and order. Because a business cannot function when there is no law and order.
Recently, a minister also said this.
Wait. I want to remind you that this is a PT lecture. I should restrict myself to that PT orientation. Although I am teaching you a lot of things. I'll answer your question after the class. Right? Don't worry. If it is related to PT, then definitely you ask. Otherwise, we won't be able to complete them. Economic ideology, which means only economy. State should not have any role with economy, but state should be there.
Classical economics.
Right? This idea of capitalism emerged from the writings of Adam Smith, which you are very much familiar of. It is not necessary as far as PT is concerned, but again, keep in mind capitalism is an economic ideology, because capitalism only talks about economy, not political aspect, which means sovereignty, authority, state, etc. State should be there. Function of state is provide conditions for market to grow. State should not interfere in the economy. State should not interfere. It is known as this. French word, laissez-faire, which means let alone, leave alone the market. Let the market undertake the business. Let the market produce, manufacture, provide goods and services to people. State should not intervene. Because if state intervenes, then it restricts the freedom of market. State intervention in the economy will restrict the freedom of market.
Business of the government is not to business.
But that does not apply in a developing country like India. A developing country should also have business to do business. Because there will be people, yes.
That's what the minister said.
Absolutely. Cannot be that way. Even in developed countries, there are the government. Right. Anyway, ideology, laissez-faire, which means leave alone, let alone. Because they say that government intervention economy will affect my freedom of business. It will impact what? My liberty to do business. So those people who advocate capitalism are advocating also the ideology of liberalism. Capitalism is also based upon the ideology of liberalism. Liberalism means what? The state should not intervene in the economy. Let the people should have liberty to do whatever they want. There should be freedom. Liberalism is the ideology behind the idea of capitalism. So liberalism and capitalism are linked. I am using the word this liberalism because it is important. Because UPSC has asked once. No, not exactly about this liberalism, but in the framing of the question they use this. Now I want to ask you one thing. Can the market have freedom in a democracy or a non-democracy?
Yes, in a democracy.
In a democracy, the market will have more freedom. Why? Because the fundamental idea of that state should not intervene.
They get the platform to grow.
If it is a non-democratic government, then the government can't do anything. Like in China, what happened? This Alibaba, was that Jack Ma? And he is the topmost business person in that region. But what the government have done? He is nowhere. So had there been a democracy, this would not have happened.
मुकेश अंबानी को भी कर सकते हैं.
India is a democracy. So I am saying.
Sir, Adani ने NDTV को देख लिया.
But NDTV के जो प्रमुख है उनको नहीं खरीद पाए.
वो तो है.
Anyway, that's a different issue. I am saying liberalism, freedom of trade, freedom of market. But liberalism can flourish in where? Democracy. So capitalism requires democracy. So in a liberal democracy, there will be more capitalistic system. In general, liberal democracy will have more capitalistic orientation. USA is a liberal democracy. Individual freedom is the basis of liberalism. Liberalism means individual freedom. The individual should have freedom to do whatever he or she likes, although with restriction. So individual should have the freedom to do business also, job also. If you see classical liberalism or the John Mill and various other, Stuart Mill and Bentham, all these people are associated with liberalism. Right? Anyway, it's not important, but I am saying keep in mind, liberal democracy helps flourishing of capitalistic ideology, capitalism. Liberalism is individual freedom. Now let's come to this. More economical and less political. Because here, the state should be there, state's role is very limited to provide all those necessary superstructure. Socialism, it says no. State should have the most important role in economy. The primary actor in the economy in a socialistic system is the state. Socialism says that state should be the primary producer of goods and services. State should control the economy. Socialism is against the idea of capitalism. Here, market. Here, the government or the state and instrumentalities should function. They should control the economy. They should control the commanding heads of the economy. If you see pre-1991 India, if you see China, if you see Cuba, all these countries are what? Why they are socialistic? One reason is the role of state in economy. State should have more role. In fact, the most important role should be the state. Whether there should be private or not, that's a different thing. But the state should have the most important role. State should produce, manufacture, distribute. State should control the system. Individual freedom is no. Whatever the collective freedom, society's freedom, for society's interest are taken care of. Why am I using this word political here? Because socialism is not only an ideology as far as economy is concerned. It is also a form of government. Because through the socialistic ideology, people are elected and they form a government. Socialistic governments. This one, what is the name of this? Union Soviet Socialist Republic. Socialist. Before 1991. So socialism is both political and economic. Are you able to understand? Because socialism is an intermediate stage in communism. If you read Marx, I'll come to that. But keep in mind, more economical, less political, but it is also a political ideology, socialism.
Sir, how less political it is, right? When it is more political when the state doing all this, more economical, more political.
No. Scandinavian countries are known as socialistic countries. Why? Because they provide for welfare of people.
All the health, education.
The question is whether there is one party system. Most of the socialist governments are one party system. So the government is organized based upon socialist principle. It is not only limited to economy. It is not only limited to economy, society, economy, the politics, government, independence of other actors. In USSR, what was the system there? In USSR, there was only one party.
Yes.
Socialism. One party.
Yes.
No democracy.
Socialism.
India. What?
Socialism, but a different kind. That's why there is multiple parties.
That is the reason I am saying it is less political.
Majority it is less political. But in context of India before 1990,
India does not fall under socialism. India is a different bird.
different socialism.
So we follow Gandhian socialism.
I am going to explain everything. Don't worry. Right? What is Gandhian socialism? What is Marxist socialism? Provided you have the capacity to stay here. Right? So don't worry. I am using less political because in modern period, socialism becomes the way of governance, not government. Socialist countries are generally, traditionally speaking, they are non-democratic. So, less, but today it is not that way. Welfare is something which is practiced by most of the countries. As for the Scandinavian countries, welfare is very much ingrained in their policies. But that does not mean there is no democracy or there is no, there is only one party system.
And sir, even there is the best example of capitalism is USA. But most of the necessary, most of the things which are provided by the government are basically the same thing provided in the socialism. Health and education.
A capitalist society is more socialistic than a socialist society. That's a different thing. Debate altogether. Let me come to this. Political and economic. Political and economic. Why political and economic?
The only one party and
No. Communism, the essence of communism is that there will not be any state.
Common property.
Just keep in mind, communism is both political and economic. Now I am going to discuss other aspect. Then this will become clear for you. What is the role of state? I mean, whether there should be state or not. Whether there should be state or not. Yes, state should be there. But the function will be laissez-faire. Here, yes, state should be there. Here, no state. Under communism, there will not be any state. Communism says there will be withering away of state. The idea of communism is reflected in the writings of Marx and Engels. Engels, कौन है? Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. These are not important names, but this Marx is important because UPSC asked once. And later you will see this in Lenin, Stalin, Mao, etc., etc. Socialism, name not important. Saint-Simon, Owen, etc., etc. Name not important. This Adam Smith, fine. There will not be any state. State after communism, after revolution, there will not be any state. So nation state will disintegrate. Here says state should be there to provide law and order, etc., etc. Here state is the primary actor. Here no state. That Marx has not explained because he died after that. But Friedrich Engels wrote and after that. But theoretically speaking, no country has reached to this level without state. Our purpose is not to deal with communism, capitalism, socialism from a mains point of view. Neither our purpose is to deal with the subjects or topics from the point of view of political science. Right? My purpose is to tell you what exactly these terms are, which is important, which is enough for PT examination. Because these are not exactly part of your syllabus as such, but UPSC asks them. Right? So limit yourself to this. If at all you have some doubts, I'll answer after the class. Right? Because you must be knowing that the reason why am I telling you this? It might mean that I know. You want to go?
So if there is no state, then how can you...
I will answer after that. The question I want to simply say, there is no state in Marxism. Keep that in mind. There is a state in Marxism. Communism. Communism is also known as Marxism. Okay?
So there was this question in PT.
I'll come to that. Don't worry. I have previous questions. Wait. Why do you think I am teaching all this? There must be some reason. What is that reason?
UPSC
Asked?
asked.
That is the reason? If it is so, then definitely I will provide you evidence. After discussing this, I will take questions. The previous question, we will solve it here. Then I want you to apply your understanding and to solve it. Right? Don't worry. I know that. Marxism asked, Gandhism asked, etc., etc. Okay? Keep in mind withering above state. No state. Disintegration of state. Stateless society.
Stateless society.
Stateless. Marxism or communism. Now, third one. Private property होगा कि नहीं होगा? Private property.
Capitalism is private.
Capitalism, very high concentration of private property. Because individual freedom है, तो जो भी काम करेगा अपने आप पास रखेगा वो. Private property, essence of capitalism. Socialism, होगा कि नहीं होगा private this property? कम होगा. अच्छा, कम होगा. Which means? Yes. So, less private property.
So what do you mean less?
Less private property in the sense that,
More taxation and all?
no, most of the wealth is controlled by the state or the people in general, collective. If I am working, let's say I am taking in the class and the institute is paying me. Isn't it? Now the question is whether I will be able to keep that money with me. Money is a property. Property does not mean only tangible, building, land, etc. Property, it means cash also, gold also, security also. So whether I will be able to keep it. Socialism will say, yes, तुमने बहुत काम किया है, तो एक काम करो जितना मिल रहा है उसका 5% तुम ले लो. Rest you have to submit to the treasury or the exchequer. State will have. Less private property.
Like you can also like more taxation.
It can be anything. It can be compulsory deposition of the tax or this money. The government might say the employer, my employer, he will have to provide this much to the government. There are multiple ways of doing it.
Is that the reason that developed countries have more taxation? Like this?
One of the way of this decreasing private property is more taxation. That's true. Progressive taxation. जितना पैसा होगा उतना ज़्यादा टैक्स होगा in India also. But the point is there are multiple ways. Salary equalization is a method. कुछ भी काम करो, salary तो सबका एक होगा. Whether you are a doctor, a teacher, a rickshaw puller, or a painter, or a singer, or an actor, politician, bureaucrat, etc., etc., most of the salary will be same. This can be one approach. During cultural revolution happened in Mao's time in China. Multiple ways. Simply put it, private property will be there, but very less. No private property. Absence of private property is the essence of communism. Because everything, anyway, that's a different debate together. Because that is not required as such. If you want to know about more, after the class I'll explain. But keep in mind, absence of private property in communism. Private property, yes. Very high private property. Because state's role is only to provide this law and order, etc., etc. If state's role is to provide the law and order, rules, regulation, what should be the role of state in welfare? If state is trying to provide welfare to people like goods and services, food security, education, health, etc., etc., whether in capitalism can the state provide welfare to people in such a large scale?
Yes, sir.
But do you think that when the state provides such welfare in large scale, it will impact the freedom of the market? Let's say health is required. The government is setting up health facilities. So what about private health facilities? It will reduce the scope for market freedom, business. I am not saying there will not be any welfare.
No, the government just pay the money to the private sector for those who treated them.
Government should pay the money to private sector. So private sector, I understand. So does that mean that the private sector should provide services as per the directions of the government? Government will say, "Acha, ultrasound karana hai, UFG. The private rate is, let's say, 3,000 rupees. Government will say, I am going to give 1,000 rupees, conduct this." It is impacting the freedom, absolutely yes. Whichever way the government does, whether directly, indirectly, etc., etc., it will impact the freedom of the market and the government and the private sector. So the nature of welfare in laissez-faire state is very less. The scope of welfare is very less. और यहाँ पे very high. That is why socialistic state is known as welfare state. Socialist state is known as welfare state. Because welfare of the people, society is paramount, not private profit.
So capitalism is like greatest good to greatest profit.
Capitalism is based upon the idea of utilitarianism, another ideology, which is maximum good for maximum people. Here it is not the idea. This is based upon Sarvodaya, which means good for all. Not maximum good, good for all. सबको अच्छा होना चाहिए. हाँ.
Leave no one behind.
हाँ, leave no one behind. The prosperity of society is important. Good for all. यहाँ पे maximum. So welfare state is a feature of socialism. Welfare state is a feature of socialism. Communism?
It's a no state. No state, no property.
No private property. Does that mean that in that society there won't be any property at all? Private property नहीं है, ठीक है. But what about the needs of people? People have needs. Health, education, food, etc., etc. Who will provide?
No concept of a state also then, sir, yes. People themselves.
Collective provision, collective wealth. Collectively people will provide. There is something called commune. Simply means, understand this, there is welfare also in communism. No private property means property, wealth will be collectively owned. People themselves will own. And they will use the products of that wealth for their own benefit. Simply understand, welfare is also available in communism. Welfare, less welfare. I am not saying there is no welfare. Capitalism, less scope of welfare because it is It impacts liberalism, individual freedom, scope for market. So there is private property in capitalism, very less private property in socialism, no private property in communism. There is welfare in capitalism, very less. But socialist state is a welfare state. Although there is no state in communism, the fundamental idea is help to people. I mean, welfare of people. Because there is no private property. Now, what about this wealth?
But sir, in actual, in US, UK or...
Wait. We are not concerned with it.
Sir, I'm talking about something, I want to clarify myself about capitalism.
After the class. Wait. Wealth. What is the distribution of wealth, nature of wealth in capitalism? Whether there will be concentration or deconcentration or distribution. Concentration of wealth. Why? Private property. For socialism. क्या होगा? Socialism?
Sir, both government as well as private. That's why there is monetization is key.
Equitable distribution of wealth. Equitable distribution of wealth. There is wealth because there is private property, but very less. But socialistic country, the word socialism, social, people in general, society in general, societal interest is important. If there is high inequality, wealth concentration, what will happen? The social interest will be impacted. So equitable distribution of wealth is the hallmark of socialism. I'll take India example later. All these things will be clear to you then. Communism, क्या होगा wealth का?
The distributing among all. It means all having...
Sorry? Tell me.
Centralized property, only state owned property.
Centralized property, state owned property. Communism, there is no state in communism.
But China is maintaining like property.
Who said China is communist country? Collective wealth. People themselves will own the wealth. Whatever that might be. So resources, property, machines, land, everything. When you study world history, especially the Russian Revolution and the impact of after that, right? Then you will come across some collective farms of the Israel, USSR. So what I'm talking at this point in time, when you read that, you will understand better. Collective wealth, people themselves will own it.
Like a tribal society.
Yes. To some extent, yes. A parallel can be drawn. Collective. Here it is state. There is state here. The state will distribute. Here there is no state. People themselves. Planning. Planning होगा यहाँ पर. Planning. Capitalism planning. Centralized planning. How?
No, not centralized. Sir.
Capitalism, there is no plan. There is no centralized plan because state has no role in economy. What to produce, whom to produce, how to produce will be decided by the market themselves. The forces of demand and supply, invisible hands of the market. Invisible hands of the demand and supply will decide. There will be equilibrium. No centralized planning, no planning at all. I would say centralized planning.
Sir, you have to say centralized planning.
Okay, I am saying centralized planning. State planning, no plan as such. If there is plan, because state will control them. Here, socialism, centralized planning, or यहाँ पर, can there be planning?
Sir, yes. Here planning is there, but what type it is? Maybe like...
There cannot be centralized planning because there is no state.
Yes.
No centralized planning.
Decent.
Collective, the people themselves can plan. So we can say that it's collective planning. No centralized planning because no central authority, no state as such. relation between capital and labor. Last one. Relation between टाइम क्या हो गया? Capital and labor. क्या होगा यहाँ पर? Capital means the capital class which have the means of production. Means of production. Means of production means the land, the capital, the money, the machines, technology through which production is carried out. Who controls the means of production? In capitalism, who controls the means of production? The private sector, the capital, they will control. Here, who will control? I will write here. This, wait. MOP means means of production. Means of production means what? Land. अरे ये इसको प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए क्या क्या चाहिए?
Raw material, labor,
हाँ.
electricity.
Okay. So here, private sector will own it. In capitalism, private sector. Here, who will own? Majorly, state will own. So means of production majorly will be owned by state. Who will own here?
Collective.
Absolutely, collective. People themselves will own. Clear? Now, relation between capital and labor, which means to produce anything, there should be capital and the people who produce it. So we divide them into capital and labor, which means management or the owner and the worker, to put it differently. The owning class and the working class. Under capitalistic ideology, there is harmonious relation between the working class and the capitalistic class. Owner and worker. Master and servant. What relation? Harmonious.
So I think I am more hiring and firing.
Huh?
More hiring and firing.
More?
Hiring and firing, not harmonious. If you do for me, then okay, otherwise I will go next.
You need to read theory.
Sir, सरकारी में ज़्यादा harmonious permanent.
Understand the theory of capitalism. According to capitalism, the interest of the capital and the labor are synonymous, not divergent, similar. Here it says what? What will capitalism will say?
Then strike off the labor then not.
They acknowledge that the interest of capitalism, the class which owns the means of production and the working class are not harmonious. They acknowledge that. But they advocate gradual change in relation. Socialism acknowledges that the relation between capital and labor is not harmonious. There are problems, challenges. What they advocate is there should be gradual change. There should be gradual change, evolutionary approach towards addressing the problems between capital and labor.
No grievances.
There are grievances, there are challenges, there are issues, but we should address them through discussion, through dialogue, through negotiation. यहाँ पे क्या कहेगा?
Labor
Ownership is by the?
no ownership. Everything is collective.
Communism is based upon the idea that the interest of the working class and the interest of the capitalist class are conflictual. The entire theory of Marxism or communism begins from this idea that working class interest is different, capitalist class is different. There is class struggle between these two classes. The only way to address this struggle, this conflict, is through revolution and to bring the working class as the rulers of the state. They advocate revolution. In order to address this conflict, they advocate revolution And through revolution, they say the working class should control the power of the state. But having said that, after controlling the power of the state, the working class should take such actions for dismantling the state. Class conflict, class struggle is the basis of the idea of communism. Yes?
Sir, if there is collective wealth, collective planning, and everything belongs to people, sir, then how can class emerge?
How?
How can class emerge?
How can class?
Emerge
Class will emerge
when
when there is, anyway, the idea, wait. The idea of communism, the entire philosophy of communism begins from this notion of class struggle. The entire theory is built upon this, that there are two classes in society. One is the people who are owning it. Marx called them bourgeoisie.
rich and poor.
Not rich and poor. There is technical terms, theoretical terms. Don't use rich and poor.
Okay.
He uses the term bourgeoisie and the working class as proletariat. Communism, the essence of communism is economic conflict between the working class and the capitalist class. Marx says there cannot be any agreement between them. The working class is the exploited and the owning class is the exploiter. The only reason or only way to address this problem is to abolish private property. Private property is held by the working capitalist class. And because of their control over private property, they control the means of production. If they control means of production, they control the labor. Despite talks, negotiation, etc., the working class cannot address their problem. The working class is always in perpetual agony. The surplus, the profit, everything is cornered by the capitalist class. The economy, the society, the rule of law, the state, everything are structured by the capitalist class on their benefit. Marx analyzes the evolution of human being. He says in tribal society they were equal. No private property. No problem. But later in feudal society this started emerging. Now third society is capitalist society, where there are two classes. The class means economy. Class is a group having similar type of wealth. Middle class, upper class, lower class. What is that? Economic criteria. There is a class known as bourgeoisie, which controls the means of production. There is a class which is working class. So working class are always exploited by the bourgeoisie. The only way to address this problem, or to work or to live as actual human being, the working class should revolt, should take up arms, should choose a path of violence, and through revolution, should change the system. When there is revolution, the working class will take up the government. There will be dictatorship of proletariat. But after removing this bourgeoisie from power, the working class will administer the state only for time being. After that, the working class will dismantle the state. There will be withering away of state. There will be no state. There will be equality, absolute equality. There will be no class. There will be people on equal terms. No state, no class, absolute equality. The stage of communism, which has never happened in the human history. Socialism is an intermediate stage of communism in that sense. So class struggle is the fundamental basis of socialism or communism. Class harmony is the fundamental basis of capitalism. Now, let's come to this. What is this? Now I am going to show you some questions and I request you to Question number 7. Karl Marx explained the process of class struggle with the help of which one of the following theories? Empirical liberalism, existentialism, Darwin's theory of evolution, dialectical materialism. What is the answer? Although I have not used the term, but A, according to him it is A, empirical liberalism. अगर नहीं है तो छोड़ दो, बिल्कुल छोड़ दो. अगर गलत करना है तो अटेम्प्ट कर लो. See, the problem is that it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 question. It's not consider the following statement, etc. If you don't know the answer, then it is very difficult. Let's say if you know ये दोनों नहीं है, then you may be able to take a chance 50-50. अगर चारों पता नहीं है तो कितना chance है? 25%. Either you know or you do not know, or if you are able to eliminate. Or let's say understand. ठीक है, process of class struggle. Class struggle सही है. UPSC भी, UPSC also agreeing with me. Class struggle, Marxism, communism. Class struggle means what? Opposition between two classes. Can you see, after reading this 4 option, applying your knowledge of English, will you be able to find some word here which is synonymous with opposition, opposing, conflict, against? How Darwin is the word evolution is, the word evolution itself says that it is not opposing, harmonious.
Yes, sir.
Evolution, revolution there is opposition. Even in evolution there is opposition. No, it's not evolution.
Yes, sir.
Empirical liberalism. What is the meaning of liberalism? I have explained.
Liberalism is liberty.
Liberalism is something in capitalism.
Yes, sir.
So यहाँ पे तो है नहीं वो. Dialectical materialism. The answer is correct. But again, evolution, struggle. Evolution is gradual. No revolution. ये भी चला गया, ये भी चला गया. अब बच गया existentialism and dialectical materialism. The word dialectical means opposing. Two ideas contend with each other, oppose each other. Dialectical. The word dialectic means opposition, opposing ideologies, opposing current, opposing trends, opposing ideas. What is opposing here in Marx? Two classes are opposing. Class struggle, capitalistic and what? Working class. So dialectic, if you know the meaning of dialectic, this will be easy for you. Although I have not taught you this term, still you will be able to answer. But it requires understanding. And what is materialism?
Materialism about luxury of property.
Material, private property.
Ideology deals with the
So capitalism.
Because communism, the basis of communism is this. Because economy, there is private property, material, means of production is under one group, other does not have. So as history, so society progresses, this material acquisition, the material parts are being acquired, concentrated in one group. Marx uses the concept of economy, material aspect of history, how the means of production are being controlled by one group and one group has been totally excluded from that. So that is what is known as dialectical materialism. Materialism uses means of production. Dialectic means opposing. opposing classes. So when Marx analyzes the history of society, evolution of society, he sees that this history, you will see that society is divided into two classes. They were opposing each other. And what is the basis of that opposition? Not religion. Economy, private property, material factors, not spirituality, not Christian, Hindu or this Muslim rivalry, no. Not political ideology, no. Not language, no. No culture, no. No ethnicity, no. What is it? Material aspects, which means property, wealth. Clear? What is the answer? अब ये बताओ, a constitutional government is one which? A constitutional government is one which, this option number 1, places effective restriction on individual liberty in the interest of a state authority. Places effective restriction on the authority of the state in the interest of individual liberty. क्या आंसर है? मैं लिखता हूँ यहाँ पे, देखते हैं कहाँ है. अरे no. Your answer is what? According to you, your answer is B. And anybody else? Places effective restriction on individual liberty in the interest of state authority. We have seen constitutional government is one which limits the power of government. State authority should be limited.
Absolute liberty नहीं है.
C होना चाहिए. Places effective restriction on the authority of the state in the interest of individual liberty. Why C? C means both are correct. So you are saying this is correct. Constitutional government is a limited government. It limits the power of the state. It does not limit the power of the individual per se. So यहाँ पे देखो, here it is, when the power of the state or the government is limited, who is getting benefited? Individual will have liberty. If the power of government is limited, individual will have liberty, freedom. Capitalism, laissez-faire. Duties? Put?
So fundamental duty.
Are we dealing with fundamental duty?
So but they put not a restriction but a moral obligation on the individual in the context of this state.
Constitutional government deals with fundamental duty.
So it's part of the constitution.
What is the definition of constitutional government? Have I used the term fundamental duty anywhere when I was discussing the constitutional government? The fundamental essence of constitutional government is limited government, which is limited by the constitution written or unwritten. If the power of the government is limited, then individual will have freedom automatically. So constitutional government is one which limits the authority of the state, not the authority of the or the power of individual. Fundamental duty is something added in which year? 1976 in India. Does USA have fundamental duty? So are you saying that before 1976 there is no constitutional government in India? Do not confuse between concepts. The purpose of constitution or constitutional government is to limit the power of the government. A constitution provides the people have a government but also protects the people from the government. Clear? Constitutional government is a limited government. The government power should be limited or state power should be limited. अभी देखो यहाँ पे कहाँ पे है वो? Effective restriction on individual liberty. Individual liberty है. In the interest of state authority, no, which means state will have unlimited power. The purpose of providing limitation to state or government is to have individual citizen having liberty. Because ultimately in democracy, citizen is the supreme authority. Second statement, places effective restriction on the authority of the state in the interest of individual liberty. This is the correct answer. Because it puts restriction on the authority of the state. Whoever said B is correct. क्या पूछा है? Following statement correct. Answer is B. ये छोड़ दो. ये बताओ. 10. Which one of the following? Sorry, ऊपर.
D.
Constitutional government means
B.
a representative government of a nation with a federal structure. A country can be federal, can have representative government, does not mean that the power of the government is limited. A government whose head enjoys real power, West Asia head, real power. A government whose head enjoys nominal power. When a government head enjoys nominal power, that government system is known as what? Monarchical? Constitutional monarchy? A government limited by the terms of constitution. Look for the keyword. I use limited multiple times. Limited. Limitation on the state power. How many of you are D? Yes, D is the answer. Any problem you are having any issue here? You need to revise your notes after going home, then this will become very clear to you. I have tried my level best to explain these terms, and I can guarantee that nobody in this world will do this way. Right? Limited government. Look for the keyword. A representative government of a nation with federal structure, it can have limitation or non-limitation, but that is not the case. Look for the exact word. A government limited by the terms of constitution. Yes. Constitutional government, constitutionalism, unwritten constitution, written constitution, limiting the powers of the government. See how the important is this constitutional government. Very important. 2 times asked. ये बताओ state. Which one of the following best defines the term state? बताओ.
Sir, पढ़ लीजिए.
हाँ ठीक है.
Yes.
Authority to govern.
ए ऑप्शन है. ओ सॉरी कहाँ गया? क्या कह रहे हो? ए. अच्छा, और कोई ऑप्शन? सी. और कोई ऑप्शन? बोलो. रिमेंबर क्या बोला था मैंने? स्टेट. 4 सॉवरेनिटी. वी शी सेइंग बी. सॉवरेनिटी, गवर्नमेंट, टेरिटरी, पॉपुलेशन.
Means of such.
4. देखो कहां पे है ये सब? फर्स्ट में है. और
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ए.
क्योंकि means of such.
देखो स्टेट के लिए क्या होना चाहिए? टेरिटरी, पॉपुलेशन, सॉवरेनिटी, गवर्नमेंट. लेट्स सी ये सब चारों कहां पे हैं? कम्युनिटी ऑफ पर्सन, ये क्या होगा? पॉपुलेशन. परमानेंटली ऑक्यूपिंग डेफिनेट टेरिटरी, ये भी है. इंडिपेंडेंट एक्सटर्नल कंट्रोल, ये क्या है? सॉवरेनिटी. वेरी गुड. और ये क्या है? गवर्नमेंट. चारों हैं. लेट्स सी हियर. पॉलिटिकली ऑर्गेनाइज्ड पीपल ऑफ डेफिनेट टेरिटरी, टेरिटरी है. अथॉरिटी टू गवर्न दम, गवर्नमेंट है. ये सब क्या है?
ये तो part of government.
हाँ ऐसे ही है. और ये क्या है?
Politically organized
People,
MPs लोग.
population. Sovereignty is missing. यहाँ number of persons, population. टेरिटरी क्या है? ऑन कल्चर गवर्नमेंट, ठीक है. सॉवरेनिटी मिसिंग. कम हियर. परमानेंटली लिविंग डेफिनेट सेंट्रल अथॉरिटी. सेंट्रल अथॉरिटी मतलब गवर्नमेंट, एक्सिक्यूटिव रिस्पॉन्सिबल, सेंट्रल अथॉरिटी, इंडिपेंडेंट जुडिशरी सब है. सॉवरेनिटी. सोसाइटी मतलब पीपल. डेफिनेट यहां पे होना चाहिए टेरिटरी. टेरिटरी है, गवर्नमेंट है, सॉवरेनिटी मिसिंग. आंसर इज ए. Difficult options, but if you apply understanding, very easy. Huh? Difficulty is a relative term.
But it's clearly mentioned there, independent of external.
But most of the students, they find it difficult because of the framing of the language, the sentence. If let's say I have not taught you this nation state, how many of you would be able to answer this question? I have taught you nation state. Tell me very frankly. You would have been able to answer this. Okay, number 1, 2, 3.
I knew it's between A and B.
Huh?
I knew it's between A and B.
The way you thought was really nice. Now I remember the whole thing. Yes.
It's good that people without the learning, they will be able to solve. But ultimately, what you know, what you do not know at this point in time is not important. In the examination on whole, how you perform, that is important. Right? So learn whatever we are discussing properly. Very important. The level of understanding of individual students might be varied, might be different. The competition is not today. The competition is कब exam? June?
28th May.
28 May. अच्छा. This is the day. You are preparing for this day, not today. But should prepare today. For that, you can do well on that day. Your competition should be with you. Everybody, right? So let's move ahead. Very good. Number 1. और क्या है? Liberty. यहां पे आ जाओ. देखा? Easy. Limited government. When you know the answer, read the question twice. इतना खुशी में आके ये मत करना कि ये चाहिए सही है, ऐसा नहीं. Read the question thoroughly, even if you know the answer. There should not be any scope for error or mistake in PT. Because छोटा से भी गलती से बाहर हो जाते हो. No mistake. Apply your mind, understanding, take time and read properly and make 100% sure. Yes, this is the answer. Then mark. Limited government.
So I'm asking this question only, sir.
अरे उससे पहले बताना तो पड़ेगा ना भाई, गांधीज्म क्या है? नहीं. The idea of Gandhi or ideologies of Gandhi or the perspective of Gandhi is known as Gandhism. It is beyond the scope of me as well as the class to deal with the entire gamut of Gandhian ideology. But we will deal with Gandhian concept of state. What is the idea of Gandhi with respect to state? Like Marx said, no state. Withering away of state. What is the view of Gandhi on state? क्या view है गांधी का?
Development from grassroots level.
According to Gandhi, state represents the coercive authority. Gandhi says state represents violence. Because according to Gandhi, individual freedom is more important. Gandhi talks about the idea of individual autonomy, self-government, autonomous man or woman for that matter, autonomous human being. So state has authority, sovereignty. Government has authority. If state has authority, then state will use authority to control people. If state controls people, then liberty of people will be impacted. There will be less freedom. And most of the time state uses its coercive authority, the police, the armed forces, etc. So state represents violence. If state represents violence, then individual will be, freedom of individual will be impacted. Gandhi calls the state as an organized form of violence. Gandhi talks about stateless polity. Like Marx, Gandhi also talks about stateless society. Gandhi says, state, because state represents violence, it uses authority to control people, people's freedom will be impacted, people should be autonomous, independent, and their independence, freedom, autonomy, everything will be impacted, reduced, controlled, curtailed by a state which uses authority. Gandhi's idea is non-violence. So wherever there is violence, he will oppose it. If state uses violence, he will oppose state. Gandhi says, no state. Gandhi advocates something called enlightened anarchy. Gandhi's philosophy as far as state is concerned, enlightened anarchy. Anarchy simply means no state, no central rule, no central authority. But when there is no rule, no law, no central authority, there can be violence. If there is no one to control you, what will happen? Anybody can do anything. This will be something called state of nature. Anarchism means no authority, no rule, no law. So लोग कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. You think about the ancient period, the human civilization. Were there any law, rule, any government? अरे पुराने सीरियल्स नहीं देखें? Those people, they lived in forest, jungle. Might of the right, जिसके पास ताकत है, वो करता था काम. No central authority. Such system or such society was characterized as state of nature. Nature means what? जंगल के अंदर जाओगे तो वहां पे कोई रूल है? कुछ नहीं है. तो जानवर वो कैसे रह रहे हैं? अपनी मर्जी से. पहले भी तो इंसान भी तो जानवर थे, अभी भी है जानवर वैसे. So at that point in time there were no rules, laws. So everybody did what they wanted. So state of nature, the way the society functioned in that nature, known as state of nature. But today it is not state of nature. It is state control, government. So we have moved from state of nature to orderly society. But Gandhi is saying state, this government is violent. So it has no place. So he talks about anarchy. Anarchy means no central authority, no rule, no regulation, individual freedom, absolute individual freedom. If there is absolute individual freedom, then there will be what? Lawlessness, absolutely. Anybody can do anything. Then he uses the term enlightened. I will use my freedom in such a manner that I will not impact the freedom of others. My liberty, my freedom is limited to the extent that I do not impact the freedom of others. I will use my freedom in enlightened manner to help me as well as to help others. I will not use my freedom to harm others, undermine the interest of others. But keep in mind, Gandhi talks about stateless society, because state represents violence. Right? State controls the autonomy of individual. Gandhi talks about autonomous human being. Autonomous individual. That is the reason, yes. That is the reason Gandhi talks about local government. Democratic self-government should be the basis of organizing the society. The power should flow like this, bottom to high, from the village to taluka, to the district, to state and the center. But there will not be any central authority, no state as such. Gandhi used the term oceanic circle to explain this. The power will flow from this bottom to top. Here there will be autonomous individuals who will govern themselves. No federal authority. Although these things are on theoretical plane, these things have not happened. But Gandhi says, if it is theoretically possible, then it is also possible practically. Anyway, related to this idea of Gandhi is also an idea called trusteeship. क्या है? This is the Gandhi's idea or Gandhi's alternative towards socialism and capitalism. Trusteeship principle. Gandhi says that the wealth of society is held by the people, the owners of the wealth in trust. It simply means there can be private property. Private property can be there, but the private property should be used only for a moderately comfortable life. क्या होना चाहिए? Moderately comfortable life. An individual's private property, land, building, house, whatever that might be, cash, he can use that property only to the extent that he or she can have moderately comfortable life. Luxurious life नहीं. मुझे एक दिन जीने के लिए let's say 100 rupees चाहिए, but my wealth is 1 crore rupees. So I will use this only 100 because it will help me to lead a moderately comfortable life. Other wealth I will use for the benefit of society. Trusteeship principle.
Whatever you have surplus, give it to the people.
So trusteeship principle is a mixture of capitalism and socialism. Because private property है, कम है. But state is not controlling private property like in socialism. The individuals are controlling, society is controlling, and there is welfare also. अब आते हैं इसमें, किस पे? Questions. The one common agreement between Gandhism and Marxism is very easy. Happy? You want to ask anything? Gandhi and Marx differ on this class struggle. Marx says there is class struggle. Gandhi says there is no struggle. Everybody's interest is equal. Harmonious relation. Marx says no private property. Gandhi says private property.
Yes.
Marx communism. Gandhi trusteeship. But Gandhi and Marx agree on something. Autonomy of individual. Ultimately the classless society. The class society is the end of Gandhi and Marx both. There will be no state in Gandhism and Marxism. Individual autonomy, individual equality, everybody will be equal. Equality is the basis of Marxism and Gandhism.
So like the third one is concept.
Abolition of private property.
No, so the fourth one I was asking.
Fourth one, economic determinism.
Like Marx was there, but
Economic determinism is same as dialectical materialism. Same thing.
Marx, and how do we define Gandhism?
How do we define?
Gandhism, like the economic determinism is for Marxism.
Huh.
And for Gandhism, how do we, sum up his whole idea and theory? उसे क्या नाम दिया उसको? जैसे कि मार्क्स का पूरा नाम ये दिया कि उसकी पूरी थ्योरी ये थी.
What is Gandhism is something which is beyond definition or beyond conceptualization. Gandhism is a mixture of lot of ideas. But the fundamental basis is truth and non-violence. These two components, elements guide Gandhi. That is the reason Gandhi says state represents violence, so there is no state. Gandhi is also a liberal in that sense because individual freedom. 16B, class struggle. No, it's not correct. Who is that? Shiv Prasad. No, not B. It is final goal of stateless society. ये बताओ, few things for this. Time हो गया 8 बज गया. चलो. Which of the following is the most appropriate explanation of the term constitutionalism in the context of polity? Most appropriate is the word.
It's a constitutionalism, sir, it's about limited government.
D, sir.
A.
D,
Sir,
sir.
A.
Sir, D, sir.
D, sir.
D, D.
Presence of written constitution. So फिर तो आपसे D ठीक है sir.
Because ultimately it can be possible in unwritten also.
Yes sir, D sir.
Yes.
Rule of law, sir, it's a arbitrary.
को क्या आंसर है?
D.
Sir, D sir.
D is the answer. Rule of law and absence of arbitrariness.
मतलब नीचे ही आ रहा है सर ये?
है?
नीचे लिखा हुआ है क्या?
एक्सप्लेनेशन है, डोंट वरी.
हाँ पर वो सर ठीक है ऊपर से पूछ सकते हैं.
किसने देखा इसको एक्सप्लेनेशन को पहले?
नहीं सर.
ठीक है. नाउ आर यू एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड?
Yes sir.
अब आ जाओ इधर. फ्रेटर्निटी. चलो एक काम कर लेते हैं, थोड़ा सा और बताता हूँ. Preamble of the Constitution talks about a lot of terms which are provided in the book. Very easy to understand. But there are few things which I will explain at this point in time. I'll take 5 minutes. Fraternity. The word fraternity means brotherhood. Simply brotherhood or sisterhood for that matter. Gender equality must be there. Right? Fraternity, fraternal feeling, brotherly feeling, sisterly feeling, harmonious relation. When there is this fraternity, conflict will be less in society. There will be agreement, consensus, less struggle, less problem. But if there is discrimination in society, can there be fraternity? Discrimination is against fraternity. You discriminate people on the basis of language, gender, etc. So there won't be any fraternal feeling.
No sir.
Fraternity, this fraternity means brotherly feeling, brotherhood, right? Fraternal feeling, fraternity, very easy. Now let's come to this. Which of the following can decrease fraternity? Decrease. Gender inequality.
1 and 3.
1 and 3. One.
Option A.
Gender inequality can increase or decrease fraternity?
Sir, gender
Inequality.
Inequality, it decrease fraternity.
हाँ, gender inequality decreases fraternity.
हाँ, no, तो 1 तो है.
हाँ, one है, बिल्कुल है. Rule by law.
Promotion of one language is
Rule
also.
by law is increased fraternity.
No, rule by law technical term. It means that
Rule of law.
the governance is carried out based upon a law. As law is made, whether the law is fair, reasonable, does not matter. Britain colonial government made so many laws, and they applied those laws. They ruled by those laws. So it was not rule of law. Rule of law means equal treatment, fair law, reasonable law. Rule by law is a negative term. Rule by law. Rule by law, a law is made which discriminates against one community and it is implemented, it will violate fraternity. Give you an example. Rule by law decreases fraternity.
Yes sir. 1, 2, 3 sir.
A.
Promotion of one language,
Yes.
वही हिंदी वाला पे ये चल रहा है.
it will decrease or increase?
Decrease.
Because one language means other people who are speaking other languages will feel what? Discriminated.
Yes sir. Language is an emotional thing.
Yes. Policy of decentralization.
It's a good term.
It's a good thing. Decentralization, which means people at the bottom level, grassroots level, will be having more power. According to their needs and aspiration, they can govern. Decentralization is increasing. Answer क्या है?
A.
Very good. अब इसमें आ जाओ. Anyway, एक और चीज बताता हूँ. Government means elected.
Yes sir.
But the government cannot carry out the governance alone.
Yes sir.
So government require other agency or instrumentality to help them.
Yes sir.
So government take decision on behalf of people and ask some authorities, agencies to implement them. This implementational authority are known as bureaucracy or administration. So decisions or policies are made by government, implemented by administration or bureaucracy. In general, administration, bureaucracy are used interchangeably,
Yes, interchangeable.
right? But these are different terms. But we are not dealing with public administration at this point in time or political science. This is enough for you. Administration implements the decision of the political executive.
But it is very
Policies, huh?
it is very tough to demarcate both? Because it is the administration who gives
If you
us
know, it is easy. If it is required, then it is necessary. If it is not necessary, it is
Yeah, it is
not needed. Bureaucracy is
not
no.
mandatory.
Bureaucracy is the no. For that matter, I'll explain it, just to show you that it is possible. Bureaucracy is a form of organization. Administration is the implementing arm of the government. Administration can be non-bureaucratic also. Bureaucracy is structure of organization, as conceptualized by Max Weber. There are non-bureaucratic organizations where administration also work. Anyway, different thing. But for the purpose of you understand bureaucracy, administration, same thing. Which of the following is the best description of the term administration in the context of parliamentary form of government? The term administration in presidential form of government might have a different term. Clinton administration, Trump administration, etc. That's a different term. Parliament form of government, बताओ क्या आंसर है?
So D.
How many of you agree or do not agree? Keep in mind policy implementation, not elected. Policy formulation कोई मतलब नहीं है. Functionaries responsible for advising the government. No. Because the administration's job is not to advise them. It is to implement the policies of the government of the day. क्या चीज?
एडवाइस भी तो करते हैं.
Elected representative in the parliament. The word is parliament here. If it is government, then it would have been okay. See, I have framed this question by applying my mind here. Right? So the option will be like that. All the possible loopholes have been plugged. So don't worry. The nominated authorities. As you know, these people are what?
So these are
Selected through appointment process. Selection is the basis.
merit based, not nominal.
Selection, you are working for it.
Yes.
An appointed body. Appointment can be through selection.
Yes.
Entrusted with the mandate of implementing the decisions of elected body executive having government authority.
Yeah.
ठीक है? हो गया? देखो कुछ और चीज है. Let me deal with this. Law and liberty. Guess this. Liberty. Liberty. The meaning of liberty. Absence of unreasonable restraints is the definition of liberty. Absence of unreasonable restraints. Absence of unreasonable restraint. Absence of unreasonable restraint. Keep that in mind. Absence of unreasonable. Unreasonable means reasonable restraint. Restraint means what? Limitation, control. My liberty can't be controlled. But for reasonable purposes, through reasonable manner. Unreasonable, no. The police cannot come to my house say that you can't go out of the house. Because why? Because the station in charge says that you will not go. That is unreasonable, arbitrary. You cannot limit my liberty that way. If the station officer in charge comes saying that the court has issued a warrant against you, come. That is reasonable. Clear? Absence of unreasonable restraint means liberty or freedom. Liberty and freedom used interchangeably. But I want to ask you one thing. Whether the presence of laws, law mean rules, regulation, laws, kanun. Whether the presence of laws automatically lead to restriction of liberty.
No.
Law sometimes can restrict liberty, sometimes can provide liberty.
Yes, yes. Reasonable.
True. So presence of law does not mean restriction of liberty always. People belonging to different religion have the opportunity to compete in the examination. So people belonging to different religions have the liberty to compete in the examination.
Yes.
There is a law which say that, or let's say a regulation rule. The Constitution itself says, Article 15 of the Constitution, no discrimination, etc., etc. So, because of the provision in the Constitution and formatting laws provide liberty to individuals, which means even the people who are conducting the examination cannot discriminate against them. Without those provisions, the disadvantaged section of people could not compete. Reservation. Let's say there is a law dealing with reservation. It says that individual belonging to this section can have access to governmental employment. The marks will be less, opportunity will be more, there will be quota, etc., etc. So these laws are providing liberty to them or not? They are increasing the liberty or restricting the liberty?
Increasing the liberty.
But there can be some law which restrict your liberty.
Yes, sir.
So law can do both. But in general, it is said that wherever there is law, there is liberty. The aim of law is to provide liberty to all. Otherwise, only those people who are might, powerful, wealthy can enjoy all the freedom. So law and liberty, wherever there is law, there is liberty. This is the idea. Law provides liberty to people in general. If at all law restricts liberty of others, is to provide liberty to other people. So liberty is absence of unreasonable restraint. अब आ जाओ इधर. कहाँ पे? Yes.
A, sir. So, absence of unreasonable restraint.
D.
Protection against tyranny of political rulers. This is this can be a government, a constitution, constitutional government, etc., etc. That can be the definition or explanation of this. Absence of restraint. Unreasonable. No. Third one. Opportunity to whatever one likes. बिल्कुल नहीं. क्या आंसर है? Because there is liberty, people can develop themselves. There is liberty to move out of the country to pursue higher education, or move within the country to carry out your own vocation, study, etc. You can develop yourself. ये बताओ, which one of the following reflects the most appropriate relationship between law and liberty? If there are more, the explanation which I provided, on the basis of that, answer this. There are more laws, there is less liberty. If there are no laws, there is no liberty. If there is liberty, the laws have to be made by the people. B. If there are no laws, there is no liberty. Yes. Where there is law, there is liberty. There is no law, there is no liberty. This is a statement of John Locke. But anyway, it's a difficult kind of question provided depending upon your understanding. But again, yes. The answer is there are no laws, there is no liberty. Because the might will become right. Those who have the power, colonial system, state of nature. Right? Equality. Equality means what? The word equality means? Simply means absence of privileges. Very easy. Answer is this B. A. ये क्या है? Right hand duties.
बाकी कल करें.
थक गए? I will take 5 more minutes. After that you can go. Right? Preamble of the Constitution. The amendability of Preamble of the Constitution, very important. We are dealing with Preamble of the Constitution. Whether Preamble is a part of the Constitution or not, this question was first raised in the case of Berubari Union 1960. Whether Preamble was the part of the Constitution. The court said no. In 1973, Kashwanda Bharati case, the question arrived was this. whether the preamble of the Constitution can be amended by invoking Article 358. Amendability of the preamble first arrived in Keshwananda Bharati. Technical differences. Amendability of preamble as per 358 Keshwananda Bharati. Part of the Constitution or not? Bharati in 1950. Supreme Court said Keshwananda Bharati, it is amendable, it is part of the Constitution, but amendability should not take away the basic feature as given in preamble. The basic structure doctrine have come out from the preamble. It is looking at preamble, saying that preamble is a part of the Constitution. Supreme Court has decided that preamble has some basic structure, basic features, which cannot be eliminated or removed by the Parliament by amending power. The current status preamble, what is the importance of preamble? Preamble is not a source of authority, neither limitation of authority, which means the Parliament or the government cannot say the preamble में ये लिखा हुआ है इसलिए मैं करूँगा, कोई कुछ नहीं कर सकता. Preamble में लिखा है justice, I will go to the Supreme Court under writ, cannot be done. But having said that, preamble is important because whenever there is conflicting interpretation of a given provision of the Constitution, or whenever there are two provisions which are conflicting each other, the court can use the help of the preamble in order to harmoniously construct or in order to provide a judgment, a decision.
Part of the basic structure.
Huh?
Part of the basic structure of the Constitution.
That's a different dimension, I'll explain that. I am saying the importance of preamble lies in this aspect. What it is, whenever there are conflicting interpretation of a given provision within the Constitution, or whenever there are conflicting interpretation of two provisions in the Constitution, the court can look to preamble and will see which interpretation suits the preamble. That interpretation will be correct.
Directly नहीं देख सकते, but जो mentioned है उनके बीच में conflict हो तो उसको
हाँ. It cannot be done other way. So preamble cannot be used to what? Adjudicate the conflicting provision. First of all, there should be interpretation problem. Then you can use preamble. Preamble cannot have an independent existence. Preamble does not have an independent legal effect. Preamble has legal effect with other provisions. Preamble can also be used by the Supreme Court for deciding the basic structure, because the doctrine of basic structure emerges from preamble. Preamble can be amended under Article 58, but the amendment cannot violate the basic structure. Preamble can be used by Supreme Court when there is problem of interpretation. So preamble aids in judicial interpretation. Preamble is an implied limitation of the parliamentary amending power by virtue of basic structure. ठीक है? कितना हो गया टाइम? 3 मिनट. 2 more minutes. ये बताओ. Democracy superior virtue in like the fact that calls into activity. बताओ जल्दी. क्या आंसर है? Explain this. Democracy का why democracy is preferred? That is what it is asking.
The intelligence and correct.
Absolutely, intelligent ordinary character of men and women. Very simple. I have explained this. One more thing. One state. क्या आंसर है? 12. Liberty in a liberal democracy. Eh? A community judiciary is a negative term.
Yes, sir.
A community to the government of the day, like community bureaucracy. Centralization, which means complete authority. Elected government does not mean that there is liberty. Even in liberal democracy. Best safeguard. Separation of power, the best safeguard, liberty. Very easy. Yeah, this one is the last. After that, you can go. The preamble of the Constitution of India is. बताओ answer. A part of the Constitution, but has no legal effect.
D.
D. Why D?
It is not no legal effect independently.
Because it is non-justiciable.
No, that is not the answer.
No legal effect.
No legal effect, which means non-justiciable. Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
Then what about this fourth one?
Independently of other part.
D.
Independently, no legal effect.
With other provisions.
That is what I have explained, no? Judicial interpretation.
Yes, sir.
D is the answer. Because if there is a conflict, it can use preamble. Chalo, all the best. See you tomorrow, not tomorrow, day after tomorrow. We'll deal with what we call the fundamental rights. क्या हुआ?
कल क्लास नहीं
कल नहीं, परसों है.
कल तो छुट्टी होगी 26 जनवरी.
For UPSC student, there is no छुट्टी.
I'm just asking.
For me, yes. Not for me, but for the institution. Anybody want to ask anything? पूछो.
सर जैसे मतलब मैंने जो कहा था कि रिटन और अनरिटन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में ये भी डिफरेंस है कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली प्रेजेंट थी और रेगुलर नहीं. ये सही है?
क्या था? जोर से बोलो.
जैसे सर रिटन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन मींस प्रेजेंट ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली एंड अनरिटन मतलब नॉट प्रेजेंट. It is true.
A written constitution is written down by an assembly, which can be constituent assembly. Yes, because it is deliberately written down in one place by an assembly elected by the people. In Indian constitution, it is constituent assembly. Yes. So constituent assembly or any other mechanism can deliberately write down the constitution. Yes. In unwritten, there is no constituent assembly. Because it is a mixture of the law of the parliament, convention, and various other different other codes. That is why written constitution is also known as enacted constitution. Enactment. Wait, Amit. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. YouTube वाले, अच्छा. क्या लिखा है? Sovereignty supreme internally, independent externally. Yes, absolutely. Internal and external. Akhil, we can tackle any conceptual question from polity with Reghu sir. Acha, great teacher. Thank you so much. It will give me more motivation to work hard. Why above that, please make these polity sessions open for all to help advertise the quality of content. I will definitely convey this request to the management and let them take the decision. Thank you so much. Yes.
Sir, and this
You ask, not an issue. पूछो.